This week on TGC News, rapid fire with new guns and carry laws, Smith & Wesson might be moving, and a bank security guard saves lives. TacPack offers some of the highest quality tactical and EDC gear in a monthly package shipped right to your door. They aren't focused on sending you a bunch of crap. They want to make sure that you get gear you will actually use, featuring things like knives, tourniquets, multi-tools, AR-15 parts, and survival gear. TacPack is bound to have gear that you're going to love. If you order right now, you can get either a free hat or a free multi-tool by using the code TGCHAT or TGCTool at TacPack.com. Welcome back to TGC News, the only gun news show that covers things you actually care about. My name is Jon Patton. As we get closer to the event, you're going to hear me more and more talking about the TGC panel, so I won't harp on it too much. However, I do have a couple things that I know you guys want to hear about, some confirmed giveaways that I need to share with you. First up, a .460 Smith & Wesson version of the Firehammer rifle I got from House of Arms, complete with a Bowers Verse 50 .458 suppressor, and on top of that, a Hudson Manufacturing H9. I'm giving them away. Yup, I'm giving that away. The only way to win those is to come to the TGC panel presented by NRA at the annual meeting in Atlanta. More details on that down in the description. Let's kick off this week's show with some rapid fire news. First up, North Dakota joins 12 other states in allowing constitutional carry. The only stipulation in North Dakota is that you are actually a North Dakota resident. I find it really interesting to see more and more states entering into this arena. It's as if they're actually listening to their residents and the Constitution, and that's kind of mind-blowing these days. Next up, if you have a Walther CCP, you need to be aware of a recent recall on those guns. The issue at hand is that the gun has the potential to discharge with or without this safety engaged. The drop safety does not work, and they need to fix it. Obviously, this is less than ideal, so Walther says send them back, and we're going to take care of it. Upgraded guns are indicated by a mark on the bottom of the magazine well, and will take about 3 weeks to get back. Good on them for making the effort to fix this. And last but not least, in our rapid fire news segment, Ruger has expanded their big bore line of rifles with the addition of a new scout rifle chambered in .450 Bushmaster. They announced the .450 Bushmaster American rifle back in October, and I actually shot one of the prototypes of that rifle. Long story short, I heart big bore rifles, and this is no different. The Scout rifle actually features a different action than the American. This is from the Hawkeye line of rifles, as well as a nice walnut stock. As some of you guys know, I really enjoy the clash of classic wood and metal with new cartridges, so this rifle is probably going to end up in my collection. Either way, the cost of the new Scout rifle in .450 Bush is $11.99 MSRP, with the American coming in at an MSRP of $5.99. Quite a difference there. What do you guys think? Would you actually grab one of these big bore rifles? Let me know in the comments. And in more Gundustry news, the industry continues to tighten its belt. Federal, one of the biggest companies out there, laid off 110 employees in its Anoka, Minnesota plant earlier this month, stating that the industry downturn was the main reason behind this. When you have a workforce of literally thousands, things like this aren't super surprising, and I'm pretty sure we can all agree that Federal is going to survive this just fine. It's a shame that week after week after week, we're seeing layoffs happen. But on the flip side of that, Battenfeld Technologies, a company owned by American Outdoor Brands, which owns Smith & Wesson, just announced a plan for a 500,000 square foot facility in Missouri, investing $55 million and bringing a potential 325 new jobs to the state. I find this really interesting considering the current state of things. For those of you that aren't aware, Battenfeld is the parent company for brands like Caldwell, Frankfurt Arsenal, Tipton, Wheeler, and a couple others. But here's the thing. 500,000 square feet sounds like it might be overkill for those brands. We talked about this on This Week in Guns last week, and there is speculation that the actual reasoning for such a huge facility is to potentially bring part or all of Smith & Wesson out of the BS happening in Massachusetts and into a free state. They haven't hinted at that at all, but I think this is a brilliant thing that they may be doing without telling anybody. Perhaps they could be moving maybe like the AR-15 production to Missouri and keeping the handguns in mass, or vice versa. We won't really know for a long time, but the fact still remains. They are a strong brand and they're growing. Somehow they seem to have transcended the downturn and are doing really well. Do you think the big S&W is hiding plans to relocate? I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments section. Now for our good guy with a gun story for this week. January 20th, Rockford, Illinois. It was a normal day at the Alpine Bank until a 34-year-old white male burst into the bank armed with a gun in an attempt to rob the place. Security video shows us just how quickly this happens. Security guard Brian Harrison was leaning on the counter when the suspect burst in, but he quickly realized what was happening, drew his gun, and began firing rounds at the suspect, several of which connected, later killing that man. In a story like this, we see an excellent example of someone whose job it is to protect people doing his best to do exactly that. Harrison actually has a background in law enforcement as a sheriff's deputy, and I'm sure his training from that helped him handle this situation. Another thing to note here is just how quickly things like this can go from normal to crazy. It was 5 seconds from when the employee saw the man coming into the bank until the first shot was being fired. 5 seconds. This also reinforces the concept of self-defense and carrying a gun everywhere. In situations like this, you can't sit back and call the cops. You have to react, which leads me to a question for you guys. Have you ever trained for situations that just go haywire? I'm not talking about shooting good groups or shooting paper at the range. I'm talking about serious situational training. While you're typing that up, be sure to stick around until after the break for this week's Friendly Fire. Sharps Brothers offers some of the most unique and well-built AR-15 and AR-10 receivers around, with models like the Warthog, the Jack, the Hellbreaker, or even the classic-looking Mean Streak. You'll be sure to find something to fit your build. To learn more about these and all of the other products that they make, head over to sharpsbros.com. This week's Friendly Fire question is from Brandon C. via theguncollective.com, and he asks, how do you feel about people who play airsoft for tactical training and firearm safety? That's a great question, Brandon. It gets brought up quite a bit. I think there is a ton of stuff to be learned from those experiences. Obviously, recoil and gun control is not the same, but tactics can be learned. However, bad habits can also be learned. Oftentimes, airsoft guns hold way more ammo, so mag changes aren't as frequent, and because you can't die from an airsoft battle, people might be a little bit more brazen with their movements, but at the core, I think it's a great way to get out and move around with a gun, even if it's not real steel. Bring it! My friendly fire question to you guys this week. How many of you have actually used an airsoft gun? How many of you have done competition or maybe like mock battles with them? I think it'll be really interesting to see the contrast between how many people have used them versus how many people say not to use them. Let me know down in the comments, and if you want your question answered right here on the show, you can head over to theguncollective.com, go to the friendly fire page, and send me your questions. And that is it for this week's show, guys. You know what to do. If you enjoyed the episode, hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you didn't, let me know down in the comments so we can talk about it. If you haven't yet, get subscribed. You won't want to miss a single week of the show. And as always, thank you all for watching. We'll see you soon. The shirts worn in today's episode of TGC News were provided by Patriot Patch Company. Click the link in the description to learn more.